Board games, board games, it's what I'm talking about. Board games are not simple, I'm not gonna shout. I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing, and today I will tell you all about how board games are definitely not simple, and it can be easy for a gamer to forget that these rules are indeed quite complex. Board games, it's what I'm talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever it is, wherever you are. 10 a.m. UK time, another episode of Busy Beats and Board Game Blether. And today, what I want to tell you all about is games are complex. Even the simplest game that you think, oh, this is a super easy game, I'll teach all my friends this game. No, games are complex things. And if you're a gamer, if you are someone who's really into board games, then you start learning things like, oh, this is a worker placement game, this is an engine building game, and then things become more and more like you shortcut things. You see mechanisms again. You say, oh, that's a little bit like that. This is a pick and pass drafting game. And you know what these things mean. But as a newcomer, it's super complex. And hello to me. Thank you for joining me. This is going to be a relatively short episode, but I hope that you're generally well. And everyone else, thank you for joining me. Before I get into everything, let's quickly talk about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights. Recent highlights. Yesterday, I went to playtest. I made a new game. It's a bunch of cards that are things like the Hermit, that you need to discard all the other creatures, the band leader who wants other cards that have little musical notes in them, Hungry Harriet who needs some cake, and the party planner who wants cake, music, and a party hat, because these are the ingredients for a party, and then hopefully other creatures will come. Anyway, so I made a game in the morning. I was quite proud of it. I showed a wee bit to you. I finished it. I went to playtest. I ran the playtest. It was all good. Gavin Birnbaum, brilliant game. AU, named after gold. And it's a game about, and a quick hello to CD. It is lovely to see you. And yesterday's I always love playtesting, whether it's seeing other people's games and then trying them and then feeling so energized, because Gavin Birnbaum, designer of QE, has made this new game where you're sort of trading your money, like your currency, for actual raw materials, and then you're swapping those raw materials for gold, because gold is a fixed unit price, and then the amount of gold that your country has minus the amount of money that you've printed is your economic value. So you're trying to have either your money be the most valuable, but you've got a lot of it, or maybe you want to tank your economy and you get other people's currency. It's really player dependent, really chaotic, really good fun. Also played Rock Band from Mike Nudd and Dave Digby. Lovely real-time puzzles going on. A storytelling game from Richard Buxton, and was sort of storytelling over, but then the gameplay and the storytelling were kind of not quite working together. And then, of course, I playtested a few games myself. I play tested the drafting game. That worked really well. Everyone was like, yeah, I want to play it again. I want to play it again. And that's a really good sign. Then I had the game about discussing which of some quickly selected objects is best fitting for some weird criteria. So currently the criteria are round, expensive, obviously not expensive, not round, smelly, and a bunch of other things. But I'm going to add more and more things in there is the next step. So I'm going to move towards having maybe even 26 different criteria, and it's going to be double-sided cards, one side with an item, one side with a criteria, and then you put 3 of these criteria over. And anyway, there's a bit more to the game, but I was, again, really pleased with how well it was working. Everyone was saying, yeah, this is really good. We just want a bit more, variance. And then the final, and we also played a word game for the L deck. I'm going to call it Triple, where it's very heavily inspired by Between Two Cities. CD says that their highlights was playing their first area games. Arena games on Board Game Arena. Won 3 out of 4 Azules. Congratulations. And yes, one of my highlights has been actually playing things with other people on Board Game Arena as well. Playing the Lake expansion for the Railroad Inc. I definitely feel like out of the 4 expansions, the Lake one is the one that's probably going to give you the highest scores, which is quite exciting because I managed to connect all 12 of my things, which I never would be able to do normally. But then the rule that if you've got 3 sides of the lake all filled in, then the one in the middle gets filled in automatically. That allows you to use a lot more territory. And yeah, I'm sorry that CD, you got the rules slightly wrong. I mean, if the rules were as you were playing, then obviously your method of playing was better than mine. But yeah, it just seems like the most friendly thing. Whereas the Comet, the way that it's implemented on Board Game Arena, it feels like everyone needs to pause when you get to the Comet, and that kind of messes up the fun of being able to take 2 big turns at once. But yeah, anyway, those were my recent highlights, and congratulations to CD for winning some games of Azul. Congratulations, and let's move on to brilliant thing. What's the little thing which is brilliant? Brilliant thing is forks. Forks are pretty gosh darn brilliant. I mean, you can stab things and then put them into your mouth. That's pretty cool. Also, you can kind of scoop underneath things. I mean, it's not good if you've got soup. And I'm also a fan of chopsticks, but I do like having something on a fork, and then you can just wander around with it, maybe, and then go, I'm going to have a wee bit, I'm going to have a wee bit, I'm going to finish it. And so, yes, forks, and also cutlery in general, but today let's appreciate forks. Yes, forks are easy, says CD. Hello, Salty Horse, who asks, how about sporks? I feel like sporks are okay. I mean, sure, but generally I have space in my cutlery drawer for both spoons and forks. I prefer having the more dedicated versions. But let's just say that cutlery, whether it's chopsticks, forks, knives, spoons, it's all pretty gosh darn awesome. So, as always, feel free to comment, ask questions, thumb like, follow. This is going to be a faster show than usual. And today, as I said at the start, it is about how games are a complicated thing. Let me talk about The Crew. This was a game that I bought earlier last year. I bought it about a year ago when I was living with my family, and I was thinking, hey, my parents really enjoy Rummy. This is kind of like a traditional card game, but we're cooperating. That might be quite interesting. Now, firstly, my trick taking, that was something that had to be taught. Secondly, the notion of cooperation. Even the notion of cooperation was something that befuddled them. thinking, oh, what's going on? Am I trying to get this? Am I trying to be the person? Hey, do I want to let that person? Yes, we're all working together. Oh, but if they get that, then they win. They're keeping on winning. No, it doesn't matter. We're all cooperating. But I want to. No, it doesn't matter. We're all cooperating. All we need to make sure is that that person gets that card. And there's a reason why this was the Kennerspiel des Jahres. But let me take a step backwards and talk about super simple games. Let me talk about Yogi. Now, for those who don't know my game, Yogi, it's a bunch of cards, and these cards all have instructions like one finger touching nose, one finger touching ear, two hands touching, and cards on the head, and then you still need to draw a card. That each turn, the rules are draw a card, read it aloud, do what it says, keep doing that thing. It goes round, and then everyone else gets a card, and when it gets back to you, draw a second card. Now you're doing two things at a time. Go round. Now everyone's drawn their second card. Now everyone's doing 3 cards at a time, then 4 cards, and at some point you fail. That seems like a simple game, right? But even there, people can get it wrong. I worked at a board game cafe for about a month, and with one of the groups they said, oh, we want something simple, we want something silly, and I said, oh, here it says, oh, give me a moment, I have to get this order, but you can go and read the rules and see how he gets on. I came back 5 minutes later, and the person was saying, this is way too easy, I can do everything. I said, what do you mean? They said, look, a finger touching nose, boom. A hand on a knee, boom. And then they thought that all of the instructions had to be done separately. They didn't realize that it had to be done together. Even with that simple game, there was still something that could go wrong. And that's the thing, like, we forget as gamers that, and CD says, going back to the crew, if my parents didn't know trick-taking, then the cooperative aspect is hard to get. And yes, there are many basic trick-taking questions on Board Game Geek. It's not obvious even after reading the rulebook. But this is the issue. As you get into games, you forget how complex everything. Once you've played a few trick-taking games, it just becomes obvious. For someone who's played Scat, for Brett Gilbert's, who's played loads of trick-taking games and also modern games, but anyone who's into those kinds of games, at a certain point, it's just obvious. Yes, you need to follow suit. Yes, there's a certain trump. Yes, voiding a suit is a strategy. You learn these cross-transferable things. But for someone coming in from ground zero, there is so much. Salty Horse says sometimes it's not too bad if a simple game goes wrong. Sure. And this is the other thing that's wanted to talk about. So it can be even worse when it's a real-time game. So obviously with Yogi, if someone does one thing and then I can say, oh, no, that's not how you go, it's this other thing. So I've got a game that's a game about quickly grabbing creatures that are totally different whilst counting your turnips. In that game, you've got all the cards face down, you're grabbing the cards. If it's a creature, then you look to see, is it totally different to my last creature? Is the head different? Is the body different? Is the bottom different? If yes, then boom, I put it on top. It's a new card. If no, then I need to put it back on the table, face up. I can also grab turnips. Turnips are different to any card, so I can easily go creature, turnip, but if you grab more than 5 turnips, you lose. And at the end of the game, the person with the most cards who isn't already disqualified wins. I played this game with someone that I thought was a gamer. I hadn't met them before. They phoned me up. My phone number is publicly available if you're local and you're interested in, talking about games or playing stuff, and you want to buy me a pint, then we can meet and I'll give you advice. This was a person who was actually interested in making their own game. They wanted to chat about that. They wanted to chat about game design. And so I just assumed that they were a gamer. They had played Yu-Gi-Oh! They were familiar with CCGs. But what happened is during this game, they were like, oh, I don't want this. Do you want it? And they didn't seem to be able to grasp the concept of a real-time game. And I was telling them, I'm just giving you a bit of a head start because I've played it hundreds of times before. And so, but during the thing, they were like, oh, so would you like this? And I think there was also a bit of stress on their part because with a real-time game, it's not as if you can pause and say, hey, wait a minute, what are my options? What am I trying to do here? Now, with the turnip mechanism, there is one decision in the game, which is basically, do you grab a turnip? When do you grab your turnip? But for the most part, it's also a game of, you know what you have to do, you just need to do it. Same as Jungle Speed, same as Twin It, same as all sorts of speed games. And so I think arguably there can be a lot more pressure there because someone feels bad, feels, oh, I know what I'm meant to be doing, but I'm not able to do it. But then also, I don't know what was going wrong, but it felt like the person generally just did not understand the concept of a speed game. We got to the end and they were like, oh, would you like to take the last cards, as if they were, being, polite or something. But remember, like, just the notion that during a speed game, you're acting as quickly as you can, and that itself is alien to people. And hello, Manuel, who comes on and says, yes, 1-800 ring a bez. And I think the key thing is to remember that anything can be new and alienating to someone. Trick taking is incredibly complex, of course. That can be alienating. Cooperation, that can be like, whoa, we're playing a game, but we need to cooperate. That itself can be a hurdle. The notion of remembering that things are cumulative, that can be a hurdle. And the notion of, oh, I need to do things quickly, that might be a new concept. Someone might not be able to understand what's going on there. Everything in your game is a barrier. All games are fundamentally things that people can fail at, things that people can succeed at. It's embarrassing for people. It is complex. And that's basically all I want to say. Don't be like, oh yeah, this is a simple game. And then I go on and I see someone saying, oh, Quacks of Quedlingberg, this is a simple game. This could be mass market. Yeah, look, Monopoly is a complex game and it's managed to survive because of the inertia. Monopoly has so many rules. Monopoly, I mean, you pick your character and like there's the skits where the different characters don't mean any different. But you start with money, you go around, and then some of the properties, you go there and you can buy them, but then if you don't buy them, then it goes up for auction, and then you've got to do a free-from auction, which itself is quite complex, and then you've got your utilities that have other sorts of rules, and then you've got your chance cards and your community chest cards, and then if you get a set collected, then you get to start building houses and hotels, and if you roll doubles, then you go again. But if you roll so many in a row, you go to there's so many rules in Monopoly, and people might look at that and think this is a simple game. Therefore, my game can be as complex as Monopoly. No, 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 no. The only reason that Monopoly has been able to survive is because of the inertia, because, it's a great game for the 1914s, 1930s, when it was like really big. But the point is, yeah, games are complex, and even if you think your game's simple, it's still, some people are still going to get it wrong. As I said, even Yogi, people get it wrong. CD says, yes, absolutely. Realizing that people need you to step back a few steps is important. And furthermore than that, sometimes just having that ability to do something simpler. Hello, Alex. It is lovely to see you. I am about to wrap up. Manuel says, I always keep this in mind while writing rule books. Any game could be someone's first game. Don't assume they are familiar with other concepts, mechanics, or games. I like that. And so, yes, let's start wrapping up. Over to you. What are you up to? You can share, but only if you want to. So, yes, what are you up to? I myself, I'm going to skedaddle in a minute. I'm going to head off for a wee appointment that I've got, and then I'm going to, in the afternoon, catch up with one of my old housemates and might have dinner together. Oh, that reminds me. She said to bring a game. I will bring probably my prototypes from yesterday. And then we will, yeah, chill out and chat and, yeah. Then what are you up to? Anything that you want to share? Anything that you're excited for? Promise that I care if it's something that you adore, or if it's something that you want to do, or whether it's something you need to do. Something fun and frivolous, or something super serious. Alex says, hello, I am Alex, and I design complicated games. I'm glad you acknowledge that. So do I. We all design complicated games. Manuel, I just completed my first Wordle in 2 tries. It's going to be a good day. Congratulations. Lucky. Salty Horse, there are stories of Ticket to Ride being returned to stores by first-time purchasers expecting something simpler or more familiar. That's really interesting. Yeah, even Ticket to Ride. I mean, like, at one point, I think that Ticket to Ride could be become a game that is passed on through word of mouth, through people teaching other people. And at that point, I think that the smaller ones especially do have the potential to become this really easy, accessible game. But yeah, it's... CD says, I'm going to take a trip up the coast this week. Got some lovely dresses. Lovely. I hope you have a fantastic time. And Alex has an unexpected day off, so catching up on chores, then solo playtesting. Excellent. I hope you feel satisfied with those chores. I hope that the solo playtesting goes well. And hello, Jess. It is lovely to see you pop in just at the end. I am about to recap and wrap up before I finish up. So basically what I am saying is games are complicated. I mean, even Yogi, someone not understanding that you're meant to do more than one card at a time, which is a critical rule, because yes, if you only had to do one card at a time, it would be ridiculously simple. Yeah, someone not understanding the concept of a speed game. It's not just that it scared them. I think that given that they were asking, do you want to do this? And also the thing about a speed game is that once someone's playing it, it's difficult to give them any guidance or correction. But what for everything, if you playtest your stuff with other gamers, if you playtest your stuff at conventions, you will just find people who find it easy, of course, or people who want to learn it because that's part of who they are, that's part of their identity. But games are really complex, every single thing. If they marketed Ticket to Ride First Journey for grown-ups, I'm sure it would be a hit, says Alex. That's quite possible. And Salty says, are the small box Ticket to Ride games close enough? And that's my personal preference. I mean, even as a gamer, I would rather play Ticket to Ride New York or London, both of which I've got, than Ticket to Ride Europe or USA, because one of them, like the shorter one with non-gamers, if they're taking breaks, I've had one of those tiny games take like 45 minutes, almost an hour. And then at the end, it's like, oh, wow, this is quite a bit going on. But then as you get better at it, with gamers, it can just last 15 minutes and it's like, boom, focused. intense experience, and then you get to the end and then you play it again. Conversely, yeah, the long thing, it just seems to drag on. Alex suggests that the small box ones might give a shorter experience, but are still not much less complex. I would agree that they are of a similar complexity to USA, because Ticket to Ride Europe has so much going on, and people recommend Europe as a first one, which often surprises me, because in Europe you've got the, oh, here's some ferries like you keep where you have to have wild cards, here's some tunnels where you flip stuff over, here's like the little train stations where you can connect things, and there's so much extra things going on in Europe. But yeah, I feel like I said to, like, I met the head of Days of Wonder, and I was like, well, you really need to get like one of these small ones and just have no rules, just the points for the tickets, points for the routes, and nothing else. Don't be like, oh, we're gathering resources like Amsterdam, or we are getting the journey like New York, or we're getting set collection like London. Yes, there are always extra scoring rules, and just taking a step back and saying there's no rules, there's just, I think that would still be enough going on. You know what I mean. And yes, CD says always start with USA, because these things are complex. You might like the stations, but they are complex. Anyway, if you want to check me out, I am Stuff by Bez everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. And if you want to check out future streams, I am streaming every day at 10 a.m. UK. I am going to be streaming tomorrow with Adam Porter. Adam Porter from Wales, designer of such games as Doodle Rush and Compromat, and maker of possibly the best designer videos on the internet. Definitely check them out. But whereas Adam's videos are tightly scripted, edited, and short, we're going to have a long, maybe 1 hour-ish, like we'll see how it goes, and we'll just talk about Adam and their life, and then Adam will come back in a few weeks, because that's what I'm going to try to do. If you're a guest, if I can get you on for like 2 or 3 shows rather than just the one, I think that's better, because then we have a chance to get to know each other, and then chances to get to a wee bit more in focus. But please, if that sounds like something good, getting to know a designer and getting to know what made them want to share these videos, and how their pitching and everything is going, and how the last year has affected them, and how we might even talk a little bit about dentistry. Check it out. Share, spread the word. I want to say thank you, everyone, for being here. It's been a lovely crowd, and I am so sorry that I have to rush away. Firstly, Nicholas Straccia says, been listening since the beginning, had my hands full doing stuff. I agree with what's been said. Thank you, Alex, for the wishes. Salty Horse gives a shout out to Adam Porter's 100 Mechanisms video. Lots of love flowing around. I love it. Thank you very much for being excellent people. And yes, please come away. Lots of love. And for now, I think there is only one thing that I have to say, which is, of course, bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, bye, CD. Bye, bye, Jess. Bye, bye, Manuel. Bye, bye, Nicholas. Bye, bye, Alex. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye, Salty Horse. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day, night, whatever it is, wherever you are, and maybe see you at the same time, well, half an hour before now, tomorrow. Lots of love. Bye-bye.